everyone, it's Bren here. Welcome to this week's garden update. And I would like to firstly apologise for not posting this video yesterday, but it was just too hard. I did put a post up on the community section here on YouTube to let everyone know that unfortunately yesterday morning, Friday morning, when I went to let the girls out for the day, I found Autumn unfortunately passed away, and it was a real shock because it was completely unexpected. And yeah, I just couldn't do the video, but you know, today's a bit better. I know she had a good life, she was happy. Her two little friends here behind me do miss her, but I guess that's what life's all about, really, isn't it? Anyway, so it's Saturday now, and I've just finished recording a bit of footage, showing you around the garden with a particular emphasis on what seeds I've sown, seedlings I have growing in the greenhouse. I really want to show you all of them today. Now, I was also hoping for this video to talk a bit about direct sowing seeds, but I just didn't get myself together enough to, gather the information, make notes, etc. So what I'll do is I'll talk about that next week. Anyway, we are going to start off with taking a look at some anemones. I've been picking bunches of these anemone flowers during the week. The stems are quite short, but I think it was one of you guys who advised me to just continually pick these flowers, especially when they just start to bloom. And then what will happen is eventually the stems will get much longer and they will make a wonderful cut flower that I'll be able to put into some decent sized bouquets. These are the anemone flowers from those bulbs. Remember these packets that I planted back in late autumn, early winter? So we've got the anemone poppy blue and then the poppy pink. And these type of anemones are just one species from the genus. I love the variation in the petals. Like this one here in particular reminds me of a raspberry ripple ice cream. And then you have the ones that look more like the flowers on the packet, and then there's the blue ones. Well, they're called poppy blue, but to me they look more purple. Like, this isn't a true blue flower. And interestingly, in nature, both in the animal world and plant world, the colour blue is quite rare. Like, there aren't that many plants or flowers in the world that have that true blue colour. Now, I'm not 100% sure, because I always say to you, I'm not an expert or anything, but off the top of my head, I believe delphiniums and forget-me-nots and the blue cornflowers are examples of true blue flowers, but this one I don't think so. However, it's still gorgeous nonetheless. This one here has the black centre, and I love how the petals change. They kind of go ombre from this purpley blue to white. It's beautiful. When it comes to harvesting these poppy anemones, also known as Spanish marigolds or windflowers, here's a little tip. You can either pick them when the flowers have fully opened like this one to enjoy in a bouquet. However, these blooms won't last terribly long. You'll find the petals will fall off fairly quickly after a couple of days. But if you want a longer vase life, what you do is you pick them when they're still at this bud stage. And harvesting the flowers like this will mean that they will last in a bouquet for at least a week. So this bloom will open up in the water. Over here, I just noticed this random white one. Not really quite sure what's going on there. Maybe a bulb got mixed up in the pack. You might have noticed in the background all of these lilac blooms, a big mass of them. These are from the wisteria, which we are very fortunate to have here in our garden. The bees are all over them. Wow, look at them. So delicate. They smell divine. The flowers don't seem to last terribly long. Soon, could even be next week or the week after, it will just be a mass of green. But I really love this plant because it provides great shade for the chickens during summertime, which is something they definitely need here in this climate. Just trying to get a bee in shot, and he's hiding over there. See him? How cute. During this growing season, I'm going to make better use of this plant. While, as I said, it provides shade for the chickens, it looks stunning. There is another big benefit of it, and that is that during spring and summer, it puts out these long growths, which are like runners. Believe the proper name is whip. I call them shoots, and they're very flexible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these off because I don't want the plant getting too massive. Plus the fact that it grows over to my neighbour's garden, so I can trim that back there on that side too. And I'm going to use these to make wreaths. The hope is over the next few months I will gather a lot of these. I'll intertwine them around each other, making all these lovely circles, and then with a lot of the flowers that I'm growing that are suitable for drying, I will use them to make a gorgeous floral wreath. Well, hopefully more than one of them, hopefully quite a lot. Last week I mentioned that I was going full steam ahead with sowing my seeds, particularly the edible crops. I've got these mini white cucumbers. I bought the seeds last year but never got around to sowing them. So this one drew my eye because it says that you can yield 35 fruit per plant. I mean, that's pretty incredible for one plant to get that many cucumbers from. So I thought I'd give this one a try. Then there's these Lebanese cucumbers, which will be always grown here because they are one of my kids' favourite cucumbers. They love coming out here and just harvesting them themselves. Very popular, grow well, seem to be disease resistant too. And in each of these I do put about 3 seeds, even though I only really need 1 plant. You know, it's always better to over sow because you just don't know what's going to happen, especially with the slugs and snails once the fresh shoots come up. Next up are some yellow scallop squash, Romanesco zucchini. You know what I did with this one? Maybe if I show you, you won't make this mistake. When I opened the packet, I actually ripped the top off that had some of the information about this plant. I should have really opened it up from the bottom. Now the other interesting thing about this one is, do you see how old the seeds are? Best before 2009. I don't know if these will germinate, but you know what? I popped in a few extra seeds, maybe about 5 or so in there, and hopefully 1 or 2 of them will sprout. At the back there's a couple of watermelons. So we've got the golden midget. I tried to grow this watermelon variety last summer and it was a fail. The watermelon, or the one that formed on the plant, managed to get to about the size of a small tennis ball, let's just say, and then nothing else happened. It ended up just rotting away, like going to a squishy mess. I think looking back on it, what probably happened was I didn't give it much attention, A, which is the first point, and B, where it was growing became overrun with weeds and the foliage got quite diseased. It just didn't really have the best conditions to grow. So I'm hoping this year I give it a bit more attention and I get a decent harvest. And then over here, watermelon sweetie. And then in these 2 trays I have, I'm just rummaging around in my box, so I've got some I'm just laughing because these aren't even labelled correctly. They're labelled as pumpkins, but what's in here is the glass gem corn. I need to scribble that out. So you've got some of this glass gem corn, which I saved from last year, and then in here is just like, oh, I'm looking at the labels wrong. So the glass gem, and then this one, which is called Sun and Snow. Let me see if I can grab the packet. Oh, here it is. How cute is that? I can see why it's called snow, because some of the little kernels are white. Finally, in this tray I have a couple of varieties of beans, the Purple King, and then these lovely Kentucky Wonder wax. I dug up a lot of seedlings from this bed, and I actually still have more to go because I spotted in amongst all of these, I've got a few dahlia seedlings which have sprouted up. This, as I said, I think this was last week, this patch where I now am growing some snapdragons is where I had a lot of dahlias last year, so it would make sense that I have some dahlia seedlings, you know, making an appearance. There are also a lot of tomato seedlings. I could dig a load of these up, grow them on, and then use them as my tomato plants for this year. But the issue is I don't know what variety they are, and I don't know, am I a bit of a control freak? I'd much rather start my tomato seedlings from, you know, a seed packet or Save Seeds where I'm very confident in knowing what type of tomatoes they are going to produce. But perhaps I will pot a few of these up anyway. I mean, there's no harm, is there? Maybe we'll try out a couple, make a bit of room for two, and just see what they produce. I have to say, I was so excited to see these pop up in the garden because it really is a sign now that the soil is beginning to warm up enough to germinate tomato seeds. Like, wow. Here I've actually got a tray of seedlings from that spot I just showed you, and you know what, I've got no idea what these are. I may have mentioned last week that my friend, who's quite a good gardener, suggested that they could possibly be dahlia seedlings, although they don't quite look like your typical dahlia seedlings. Anyway, I am going to grow them and see what happens. And then over here, these are a big bunch of spider plants which I dug up from a spot. I'll show you there in a sec. There are so many of them. These are the white flowering variety. They grew in the garden last year and they were so beautiful. I'll pop up this bouquet now where I placed some of the flowers in it. It was like an all white kind of cream bouquet and they really just stood out. They were so beautiful and stunning. Over here is where all of the spider plant seedlings are. There must be hundreds of them. My goodness. And again, like those dahlia seedlings that I showed you earlier, it makes sense that there's this many of these spider seedlings here because I did have a couple of the plants in this bed which are now full of stock. Speaking of beds, I continued to work on this zinnia patch during the week. So last week I showed you that section there that I had planted out, and you know what, I decided, heck, I'll just go for it. So I cleared all this space, amended the beds. I now have big blocks of zinnia flowers. So there's pink, I'm just trying to remember, there's pink, there is orange, there is purple, and there's red as well. You might think, oh look, first cosmos flower, how magnificent. But it's really not a great thing because these cosmos seedlings may be flowering due to being under stress. You can see I've got 4 plants there in a tiny little pot. I still haven't planted them out to the garden and now they are beginning to bloom. I hope they don't think that, you know, they're going to die soon and they're trying to set some seeds. These are actually something I'm really excited about this year. It's my first time growing this variety of cosmos, and to think that I haven't really cared for them terribly well. I really need to get these divided up and either pot them in the ground or, you know, put them into their own individual pots. This is called apricotta. I got these seeds from Sam. I'll put her company name up on the screen, and I cannot wait to harvest big bunches of these gorgeous flowers. There really is so much to show you here in my greenhouse. You know, early spring, you can just go absolutely crazy with the seed sowing. Let me keep on going and we'll take a look at a few more things. These are all seedlings I grew, you know, sowed a few months back, and I've potted them on. So I have some Gomphrena, light pink, there's some Celosia, Selway white, and then I also have salmon too. I have some Persian cress. I've actually got lots more of this planted out in the garden. I've got snow on the mountain, euphorbia, which is those. I've kind of mixed my seedlings up a little bit, but I know what they are. And then down here, this is a fresh sowing I did maybe last week or the week before. So I'm starting on my amaranthus. And there's cosmos in here, more gomphrena, more status, which is going to make a really nice dried flower for those wreaths I mentioned earlier. So I've got the yellow and the blue, hot biscuits for some autumnal colour. And what else? Yeah, just a lot of seedlings, a lot of things going on. Lots more zinnias. I've got Lilliput yellow, Queen Lime red. I had to resow some of them. I've got a whole tray of this Cristata celosia mix, which is the cone flower. There's a whole bunch there. Mixed colours, should be reds, orange, yellows. And I've sown a lot more straw flowers. This one's germinated quite well. Silvery rose. There's also white, no sign of germination there yet. Salmon rose. And my favourite, which is the dark purple. Got a tray of nigella. Usually I get these self-seeding around the garden, but this year it's so weedy. I think all the grass and stuff has stopped the germination, so I'm trying to germinate some of them. More Lilliput zinnias. There's salmon and white, and I just do not know where I'm going to plant all of these. There is just so much going on in this garden. Sometimes it feels a little bit overwhelming, and I haven't even shown you what I've been doing with my dahlias. Do you want to see? Okay, let's take a quick look. There is a dahlia down here, but I need to clear around it. This one, hold on, we'll go through the cage. Oh, give me a sec. There we go. Look at this. The ones that have been left in the ground are starting to shoot up. So what I need to do now is I need to clear around it, give it some extra compost. I may actually, with some of these, I probably will dig them up, divide them and put some in pots. And here on our back porch are more dahlias. Like, look at the amount I've got. Ooh, and I need to get these in the ground, but I'm kind of waiting until some of them start to sprout. So I have been checking on them. Like, I noticed this one here, which is a new purchase. It's called N.S.W. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Look in there, it's sprouting already. Here's another one, Winky Cavalier, which is popped through the soil. And this is where things get pretty messy, because the areas where I'm planting a lot of the dahlias aren't prepared yet. I have been working on them. Like, this is going to be a brand new bed, maybe 4 or 5 meters in length. I was thinking of possibly doing 2 rows, but I haven't definitely decided yet. So I'm in the process of, you know, just laying down the cardboard to kill off any grass or weeds underneath. I'm going to put a few wheelbarrows of compost on top with some straw, and hopefully this bed will be ready in about a month's time to plant out some of those dahlia tubers. Over here where the raised garden beds are, the area where I'm planting on putting more of those dahlia tubers around the very back along that fence line isn't ready either. We'll take a closer look and I'll show you how bad it's looking. The weeds are just taking over the place. Like, look at it, it is insane. What I'll probably end up doing here is just mowing down the weeds, putting down lots more cardboard, but I don't really need to amend the soil as much because it's pretty good quality in here. Now I just got a bit of a flashback, because I remembered I said to you that what I was thinking of doing was just creating another row of the raised beds back here, but I just don't think I'm going to have time to go to that much effort. I think for this season what I'll do is I will plant the tubers directly in the ground. I am pretty confident that they'll grow well in that soil down there, because it contains years and years of mulch from, you know, just bark that I've been using to suppress the weeds. Do you hear that noise? That's the chickens. They want me to let them out, so I'll go down and open up their coop. I already checked on the 2 this morning and gave them some food. I just haven't let them out yet. I know they're fine, so that's not like any kind of distress call. I just know that's what they usually do when they want to let them out for the day. I have to say, yesterday they seemed pretty sad. They were kind of following me around the garden. But today they seem all right. I know they're going to miss their little friend Autumn, but at least they have each other to comfort each other, I guess, and you know, keep each other company. It is going to take a little while for the two chickens to adjust, but I know they're going to be fine, and I'll make sure I take good care of them. Anyway, that is about it for this week, everyone. Thank you once again for your patience with the delay of this video. I'll be back to my usual schedule next Friday. Well, until then, I hope you have a wonderful week ahead and happy gardening.